I remember it very well. At that time, I have been already working for several German cooperation agencies like GTZ at that time, the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, and several NGOs. And I had, in Bolivia, no, and I had already completed my master in Belgium, but I still had the feeling that something was missing, some tools to understand better the complexity, the historical complexities of particularly the marginalization of countries like Bolivia and some specific groups there. So then I started looking for for a doctoral program, no? And I went to a government office. I think it was the International Relations Office in La Paz, that used to centralize all information about international academic offers. And then I saw, on top of all the other offers, it was the SAFE brochure. And then I read it, and as soon as I read it, I knew that was the kind of program I wanted to follow because of its interdisciplinarity, its international character. So it was just what I was looking for. Well, my research was comparative research on Quechua communities in the central valleys of Bolivia compared to the most dispersed Guarani communities in the Chaco areas, of course mixed with mestizo population in the small cities as well. And the idea was to compare how these groups take advantage or not of this decentralization process. And the popular participation law, new economic resources, more power, decision-making. And then the results were very clear that these historically well-organized communities, peasant communities, Quechuas, they took advantage of it. They strengthened themselves, the decision-making capacities, while the others that were more dispersed and more exploited, let's say, because of their condition in the Chaco areas, they couldn't, because the same groups of power took most advantage of it. No, of course, both benefited, but not at the same level. So one of the conclusions was that's important to look historical paths and not only universal laws, because when applied, they are, of course, they have different results. Yeah, I follow it for a long time. I even translated my PhD thesis to Spanish that was published 5 years after that. It was updated and published. And unfortunately, the next step, that was the autonomies of the regions, was not taken, because we have the tendency to have a government that centralized power, which of course it goes totally against this idea at that time of giving power and resources to the people. And now we have, even in my opinion, given some steps back on that relation. Oh, greatly. It was very decisive, an inflection point, let's say, because, first of all, it gave me an international profile, no? Then I could really apply to, and I did apply to different regions, countries, and to have an education here in Germany, an international program, helped me a lot. Another, of course, was most specifically related to my education and training here, to be able to look at power relations. No, my supervisor, Andreas Wimmer, at that time, and other senior researchers here, really sharpened my analytical abilities. Focus on development issues and how power plays a role there. In that sense, I have followed, for example, the gender mainstreaming and gender-sensitive research, which has marked my career till now. And these abilities, analytical abilities, were sharp here at CEF. So the interdisciplinarity came from two sources, and for sure I benefited very much from that. The first source was the interdisciplinary course itself, the public lectures that we had, the variety of backgrounds from the senior researchers at that time. So I looked at aspects like economics or, I don't know, things that, statistics, things that were not in my radar, let's say, as important tools, and they became important tools after that. And the other source were my fellow students themselves, because they came also from different backgrounds academically, but also from different worldviews. And I think that really enriched my world, to know the similarities and the differences in our country's historical paths and the way we interpret the world. That really opened my horizon. Well, probably it was to delve into this development world with technicians who had this very focused education on environment and agriculture, and to work with them to look to gender relations, to social inclusion, which is not in the radar, and it's very, very relevant. If we are working on development, we cannot just focus on technical fixes, even if they have to do with the government or with the soil or whatever. We are humans, and then we have relations, and there are certain inequities there. There are certain ways to cooperate, to interrelate, and I think that's something I'm very proud of, to have been able to work on that issue, to show a bit and to develop with them together a more comprehensive view of the reality, particularly in rural areas. And something very particular I'm also very proud of is that I was able to translate my thesis to Spanish, and so it has been useful not only for me in my academic career, but it has been also useful there for people who gave me all this information and worked together with me. In my field, it has been a lot of steps back, for sure. I don't work anymore so strictly on decentralization, but I still work on local power relations, particularly related to environmental conflicts, which is very highly relevant nowadays. And the way I follow on that field is in looking at how local population, particularly now that they are talking about territories, rather than decentralized units, has with time been able to elaborate this discourse of humans and nature going together as one. And I really love that. That inspires me, that motivates me to follow on this path of development, but an alternative one that is defined locally and that we could support as academics and also as developmental workers, so to say. Yeah, I have so many good memories with particularly with my good friends, Kavita Rai, Cristina Carambas, Prasniti Praxa, also Pepin. At that time, we were always together having very long discussions. And actually, my best memory is probably the one of Christmas 2004 or 2003. That was, we make a theater play. We were all extraterrestrial beings looking at the world and the paradoxes and contradictions of academic life. No, that was a lot of fun. It was great. Yeah, and my other memories refer to our long talks about our lives and our countries. No, I still keep contact with them and with other fellows, and it has been very enriching. Yeah, very good memories. I always said that its reason to continue being its doctoral students, that it's a hayu, that is a word in the Aymara and Quechua indigenous languages of Bolivia, and it means spirit, that it's a hayu continue being its students, and that's because a person educated in solidarity and in commitment and with good skills has a very strong transformative power. So, congratulations, Seth.